Hello, everyone.
Okay, well,
Welcome once again to our Friday live session.
yes.
We're back after a bit of a break because of the ongoing issues and limitations that we were all suffering because of the recent events in our city. But yes, we're very excited, very happy to be back. And like you heard the song, I got the feeling inside my bone. It goes electric wavy. So the topic that we've got today for you, brought for you today, is kind of, resonating with that. We are going to be discussing the essence, the importance of what it is to reflect and express. So the importance of reflection in our lives, on our in our day-to-day lives, and the importance of expression in our lives, in our relationships, in our working relationships. So yes, that's what we're going to be discussing, and it's again, I feel, a very interesting, a very deep, and a very insightful topic. So yes, Hamza, like we were talking earlier on before we started live, what to you is the like what is it, what does it mean to reflect, and how important is it, the concept of reflection, and what is reflection?
I feel like reflection is could mean a variety of things. To start off with, it could mean ponderance over things happening around you,
Yeah,
about life, about your
yeah,
actions, about something you choose to think about a little more deeply than you would
yeah,
normally do. I
yeah.
mean, there's a way of thinking about things, you normally think about things, and there's a way of falling a little into deep thought. So,
Hmm.
reflection, I feel, is deep thought. And I feel it's important because I think all living things are very capable of thinking as such. But as humans, I feel like we're a little extra in the ability to go a little deeper inside us and
Yeah.
think of things in a little deeper way.
Hmm.
So it's important to our balance. It's important to understand certain things. It's important to figure out some important things. It's important to take certain decisions. All of these need a bit of a reflection to propel forward, to propel oneself forward. So I'd say that is the importance of reflection to me.
Very well said, and I think that's so true. Misha, what does reflection mean to you? Like when our viewers are going to be listening, and what is reflection? What does it mean to reflect? Misha, that question was for you.
Sorry, it's in my right.
Yeah.
I have
Mhm.
to. Okay, so
Sometimes we suffer
reflection.
from internet connections like the rest of
That
all of
question
us.
was for me or Dr. Hafsat, right?
That was
Sorry, I
Misha
didn't
for
get that.
you. For you, Misha. Misha, Dr. Hamza's already
Yeah.
talked about.
Okay. So reflection for me is to just look inside yourself, just to give yourself a self-talk in the morning when we wake up. So it's the best time to self-reflect,
Yeah.
and that's the best part. That how I do is like I just sit and just in solitude at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. I just reflect that how the day passed and how I'm going to spend the day.
Yeah.
So this really helps me to just like form a plan for the day and to reflect that what can go right and what can go wrong. So
Hmm.
that's why reflection is very important in order to plan and reorganize that how we're going to go about this day. So this is what reflection is like, giving yourself a self talk and meditating and journaling that how we can go about the day. So this is what reflection is.
Yeah, and also,
And
reflection is also when you were sitting there and you didn't hear my cue and you were lost, right? I think you were also deeply
yeah,
reflecting. So that is exactly what happens, guys, when you are in the reflection phase, because actually, that's what Misha was doing. She was reflecting over what reflection means to her, and she went in a trance-like phase, and it happens
exactly,
when.
exactly, exactly.
because to me, I think reflection is like both of you have said it quite correctly, that
Exactly.
to really think and ponder, and to put it very simply, it is when I was reading up about it, one of the definitions that I liked, which was posted by the Harvard Business Review. The writer said that, put it simply, it is careful thinking. So reflection is really, when you are carefully sort of going through your thoughts, right? It's literally like picking out your clothes, and you're carefully kind of, going through them. So reflection is plucking through your thoughts and addressing them. And, like you said, it helps you in sort of getting clarity. I think reflection is really important in getting clarity of your mind, in your mind, of things that may be confusing you, the clouds in your head. So when you reflect and when you use the nuance of reflection, like Misha was, you know, and reflection really means to pause in the midst of chaos, right? And just take a moment, take a few moments, and just tear yourself away from what's going on around you and thinking, like, what's going on, stepping outside. So yes, Misha, you're right, it's very much like meditation. And yes, so that is what reflection is. And self-reflection, when we talk about reflection, and since we are a wellness and self-growth and self-development and improvement forum, reflection, I think, is self-reflection is an extremely important skill that we must incorporate. We need to keep self-checking, reflecting emotions, our actions, because another thing, reflection has two things in it, that you reflect on your intentions, your action, your thoughts, and then your actions as well, right? So again, going to Dr. Hafza, what are the different ways that we can use to incorporate reflection? How do you reflect? I mean, how do you go about it in your daily life?
Reflection has been quite a huge part of my life ever since I remember thinking deeply about things, and that goes way back to when I was 10 years old. And obviously, the answer is journaling for me. I think that was the
Oh,
first step to reflecting about the day. Sitting alone with myself, picking out a diary,
yeah,
crossing my thoughts out, what happened today,
yeah,
going about the entire day, this. As a child, I remember writing, getting more clarity of the day, that this happened today, this happened, and I think this, so
yeah,
you that I think this is
yes,
basically what reflection is exactly. So I
yeah,
think journaling is one way I go about it. Another thing is writing my thoughts out loud. There's this hashtag that I had back in the day when I would Facebook quite often, like Facebook statuses quite often, and that'd be like morning reflections. I'd
yeah,
name it hashtag morning reflections, and I'm also a morning person, so I'd have
yeah.
these really brilliant light bulb thoughts in the day, and I put them out loud, morning reflections, and write it down. So I think writing is one way for me to reflect.
And
Another way
it's such
to
an amazing tool to reflect. It really is.
exactly. So there's an event that occurs in somebody's life or goes around in the city, and you have to say something about it. You have your own thoughts about it, your opinions about it. They're
Yes.
also your reflections, and I feel like I reflect by writing a lot. So
Yeah.
for me, reflection is writing.
That's excellent. And journaling, in fact, and indeed, is one of the most effective ways of reflecting. And not just reflecting, but it is also one of the most effective ways to kind of, get clarity. And that is what reflection does. When you reflect, you get more clarity, more visibility. Acha, Misha, now over to you next. What are the different, I mean, you already
Yes.
mentioned, but if you want to go deeper into it, the methods that you incorporate to bring about that internal reflection.
Basically, I meditate and I do yoga
So
every
tell me,
day, every single
just
day,
let me
because I
stop you there.
cannot function without
You
it.
meditate, right? So, but then when you meditate, because this is kind of like us giving out
Yeah.
tips, right? So you meditate in the morning and you do yoga. How does it help you bring in reflection? Like, how does it take you there? Can you just talk a bit about that process?
Because when I'm doing that, there are thoughts that are popping up in my mind,
Yeah.
And I really need to figure out that how I am going to, like, what I'm going to do about them by thinking of it in solitude. And
Yes.
and in my power hour, when I am the most active and most productive, and I'm thinking through. Because at times at night I cannot take decisions, or cannot figure out that if I made a wrong decision, or I just misbehave with someone or someone,
Yeah.
then I need time to reflect, to figure out
Yeah.
my mistakes. So that's the time when I
Yeah.
reflect and go back, and then close my eyes and make myself into that take myself back into that time zone where I made that mistake. Then I
Yeah.
self talk with myself, do a dialogue with myself, that how could things have been better.
Yes.
So this is something that really gives me clarity during morning time, because that's the best time that gives me a way to start my day with clarity. And so that's what reflect I practice reflection every day.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And you guys are both so right. The best, I mean, the best time to do really is, do
So
all of that
yes.
in the morning and get your morning routine together. Because if you manage to get clarity in your morning, then of course the rest of your day kind of it's clear to you, and you manage through your day in a much
Yeah.
stronger way.
I'd
So
like to
that,
add
yeah,
something, as
yeah.
much as
Please
mornings
go
fill you
ahead.
up with a very fresh light inside your head to reflect on things and take charge of the day. I
Yeah.
do feel that nighttime reflections are quite an important part of a
I
lot
was
of our
going to
lives.
actually, yeah, say that as well. Yeah.
Yes. How do you go about it? How do you go about your reflections?
No, no, no. I mean, I was actually going to come to that, and you did. That I went, because I am not. I'm the kind of person. I've always, like my time. I feel with myself always is in at night, because being a mother, and you have like mornings are very busy, especially now that kids are going to school. So that my mornings are actually quite noisy and busy, and I'm kind of multitasking. So as soon as I wake up, even if I manage to meditate, I mean, it's hard to kind of still my mind because I've got that, uh, so many things to do. So my time reflection is at night. But more than that, I mean, there's no time for reflection, and reflection must be done at any point. I mean, it's a natural phenomenon. It's a psychological process.
You you
It is
you're on the
the
road somewhere.
awareness
You
that
you
matters.
probably sit in a bus sometime and you're just looking at the window. You're with yourself for a
Yeah.
moment. I think that's any time that you're with yourself is a reflection time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and it doesn't even have to be. You could be sitting in a crowd and with people or friends, and somebody says something that just strikes you, right? Or it just touches you, and you just kind of in your head, or you take a step back and you go like, wow, that is true, and then that thought sits in your head, and then you go back and reflect on it, and it happens to me a lot because when I am in conversations, deep conversations, and somebody says something that affects me, it does register, and then so reflection is nothing but it's natural. But I think the importance, the reason that we're talking about it is the importance of its awareness, that you see, being aware of self-reflection. It's very easy, or what happens in our society and in most society, it's so easy, and it's so entertaining to reflect externally, right, on others, right? That's also a form of reflection. External
Yeah.
reflection. You comment on somebody leaves the room, and you start talking and discussing the person.
You just lent some weird, unkind word on based on some external reflection, and
Yes,
you need to reflect on did you say the right things or not? How you
yes,
talk to others, how you talk to yourself. I think
yes,
reflecting on that, on how you
yes,
communicate, I think that's quite
yes.
important.
Yes, and I think a lot of
Yes.
for a lot of us, we indulge more in external reflection, talking about others, thinking about others, wasting our time, worrying about what other people are thinking or doing, comparing ourselves, competing with others. Then, of course, like a lot of people watch the news, and like a lot of people like then you reflect over the news and the world events, and of course, all of that is important. But the I feel the important point here, which again is to reflect, is that how much of the things that are external to you are in your control. They really aren't. So that is why, hence, self-reflection, internal reflection, is the most important form of reflection, because that is what you control. You control your own thoughts, or you can control your own thoughts, and then your thoughts lead to your actions. So that is why reflection is important. And like Misha said, like so many times, you acted a certain way, you said something, and you come back, and the same day or the next day or sometime later, you reflect, and then you realize, you know what, I shouldn't have said that, or you feel bad, or some unfortunate incidents happens, or some mistake you made, and then that is why reflection is important. Then you kind of go back to that situation, and then you kind of figure out, what could I have done differently. So
Yeah.
another thing that I was reading was
Yeah.
the importance of reflection,
So
which said the importance of reflection is to actually come up with different interpretations of the same thing, and then choose or make meaning out of it, create meaning, and then use that meaning going forward. And that's how it helps your mindset or changes your mindset. So that is the use of reflection. So having said that, I think we've discussed that amply, and
We
we've talked
reflected on it quite much.
yes, you guys have made like reflection a bit of a thing.
It is.
So
Because
by
you see,
discussing
it's
it a
so
lot, because most
important.
of the time this is a topic that
Yeah, people don't talk about it, and it's so
So
closely linked to meditation, to what this conventional new philosophy about, like Eckhart Tolle talks about, and so many other philosophers in today's age. They promote this, that you have to control your own thoughts,
You
and
know
you have
what?
to control
Philosophy,
yourself.
philosophy is very organized reflection, actually.
Yes, and that in itself is a reflection. So
Yep.
reflection
and that's
is
a
open-ended, and you can just go on and on. But we've highlighted, in this, that it's so important. It's so important to be aware of it. Different methods, techniques that you can do it. Hafsa uses journaling. I journal myself a lot as well, so I find journaling extremely effective. We all three of us, even Misha, we meditate. Even I sometimes, honestly, another way that I reflect is I just sit and I keep revisiting the situation. But one has to remember that there is a defined line between reflection and obsession.
yeah,
Obsession for the same thing. You find
yeah.
yourself doing that, especially when you're in
Overthinking.
unpleasant situations, right? Or when you're in difficult situations, you keep revisiting that moment, or that moment in the future that's to come, and you obsess over it. So that's not reflection. That is obsession. Reflection is that you use your time and your energy, and you think in a way that is going to help you in your future, to navigate yourself in a better, productive, useful way, or to correct what has gone wrong in the past. So there is a fine line between obsession and reflection, because I tend to be obsessive also. So that's why I highlighted that. So anyway,
Can I add a thing, like
yes,
a very recent event just occurred, that I had an
yeah,
accident, and the minute I had an accident, I went inside the clinic, and I didn't know that how to control myself back. So I took out my notepad and started writing about that, what happened and how can I control, because I was actually like was emotional, and I was scared because I got squashed between two cars, and then however I was okay.
it's
but
terrifying.
but I just wanted to just give myself time in order to go out and tell others that what happened, because I don't want to create a scene. So in order to just get myself together, I just started
Together,
writing. Yeah,
yeah,
so I just started writing about it, and that's how it helped me
it helped you,
to
right?
yeah,
And you were by yourself, right? Then,
yeah. And then
yeah,
after that, I was all good after that.
you were calm.
So yeah, I was calm because I was writing like what's bothering me at this point in time. Then I wrote in bold letters that all that matters is that I'm okay. So I'm okay.
That is, you're
So
such a
yeah,
brave girl.
I'm very,
yeah.
very
So
glad
brave,
you
and
So
so proud of
had
you.
okay.
And that brings me to our next topic: reflect and express. So that was you expressing those emotions, right? And that is
yeah,
why expressing yourself is so important. And I think that that's what you did, that whatever turbulence or whatever distress that you had, and you were going through after obviously that unfortunate accident, and thank God you're fine. You know, and that's another thing, that another way of expressing also is to write, right? And you did that, and you felt relieved. You felt de-stressed.
Yeah, actually it really helped, because I am a person that I just I take time to just pull myself together, but this thing that I started doing,
Yeah, you get easily overwhelmed. Yes.
yeah, I this actually helped me a lot, that I was
Yes.
least expecting that. So I was taking the moment and time. So
I'd like to add that I'm very proud to be part of the fact of our wellness
Thank you.
forum.
I just want to thank Mr. Jeff Heggie, who's just joined us,
yeah,
and he it's Dean Jeff Heggie, Mr. Jeff Heggie, or one of
Jeff Heggie. It's Jeff
Misha?
Heggie. It's Jeff Heggie. It's Jeff.
It is, yes. So thank you, Mr. Jeff Heggie. We're very happy that you have joined us, and for all the wonderful comments. And Misha, you know, again encouraging you. You're so kind, and thank you for joining us. So
And
yes,
thank you
that
all
is
for
for all your support and your love, and you know
Yeah.
your
And thank you all to whoever has joined us, Mustafa, Rabia, and
Yes, the
everyone.
rest of our viewers as well, Rabia, Mustafa, they're regularly following us, and they're very kind, and they take out time. And we will be again acknowledging all our viewers in the end. So just so I don't detract. So that was, you see, because that was what I was going to get to, and I'm so glad that you brought up this incident. First of all, you're such a proud. I mean, I'm so proud of you, and you're such a brave girl, mashallah. You're like that, you know. In
Yeah.
English, we say like touch wood. You are such a brave girl. I'm super proud of you. You held it together. You went through it together. It's not easy, but you just you know, mentioned a very, very important tool for expression, and I'm glad that we started from there. So now Hafsa, you know, she said that, like Misha's, and this is a real life experience. She just went through it recently. So do you
Yeah.
have any, you know, just talk to us about your experiences in terms of, you know, expression and expressing
Okay.
yourself. Like, it's important to reflect for sure, and but we moved on to now the importance of expression and expressing yourself. So how does that work for you, and how has that worked in your life? What do you do? Anything you'd like to share?
Okay, I've been a very expressive person ever since anybody can remember, even before I could remember. I mean, my mom says that I was somebody who was speaking complete sentences when I was one. So
I can totally imagine,
I was
because you're
one, and
also a brilliantly intelligent human being. So I can imagine your cognitive abilities are like at the top.
thank you. Thank you for that. So I have always been expressive, and I feel that by and large, as I've grown, I feel there are more than one ways to express oneself. And
Yes.
for me, it started off, of course, with talking, and then it comes to writing, then it comes to artwork. I express myself at times in my calligraphy a lot. When I'm feeling sad, I just write out a
And that's
calligraphy.
so beautiful. And in one of our sessions, we'd love for you to show that, but let's not move
I'd
away from
love to. But I'd
yeah.
love to someday. Then
Yeah.
at times when I've also channeled my anger and expressed it on a piece of plaster block and carved it out. So I have
Yeah.
done various things to express. Recently, however, we lost a very near family member, and
Yes.
for
Yeah.
me to it I think by and large this is the one loss that I have grieved to this extent. I mean, I was shattered, beyond shattered, and the importance of expression comes there. I was feeling
Yes.
helpless because this was a very young person, and we really wanted to see their life ahead.
Mhm.
So for me, a lot of things felt so unfinished that I just had to do something to express. So I just wrote down this obituary that I wanted for them, and for me
Yeah.
that was just so important to do, and just find some way to feel that I want to do something for them. Maybe keep them alive through words or something. But that was me expressing my grief in a certain manner. So I wrote a lot about it. I wrote on my Instagram. I wrote on my Facebook about it. I also another thing that really helped me was talking about it with friends. I remember
Yes.
talking about it with you, and that was by far the most useful conversation I had with anyone on this regard. Why? Because you had the right things to say.
Mhm.
you narrated another similar incident from
Yes,
your family, and I think I really needed to hear that what
yes,
I'm feeling is not something that's isolated. It's something that people do experience,
yes,
and people have experienced something similar, and I really need to hear that. So I feel
yes,
like that's how I express myself. I talk,
yes,
I write, I share, and it's extremely important to do so. You need a vent for anything that gets a little overwhelming. Like Misha was surrounded by a very
yes.
scary experience, and the fact that there was a vent to channel out the emotions there is the essence of right expression, and I think that's very important. So this is expression to me.
Yep. No, that's
And
so beautifully
also,
put.
also it is adulting for me. It's like not to cry out loud and whining about your problems. Is like by the end of the day, you are your own hero, and you have to deal with all the
You are your
challenges
own
by yourself.
savior, your own hero.
Yeah, your own
Absolutely.
hero.
And that is what self-growth
So
and self-development and self-realization is about. And you're so right. But you see, and both of you, you're such, courageous and such strong and brave girls and such beautiful human beings.
So are
Um,
you.
and
so are
you
you.
know,
You are an inspiration.
no, but that is so true. So just adding to the importance of expression, I mean, it is absolutely, I think, necessary. And as human beings, the way we are created psychologically, biologically, we need to express ourselves. And if for any reason that we cannot, not everybody is expressive. Like you said, you're a very expressive, and I know you're a very passionate, very expressive human being. And so innately it comes to you. You can easily communicate and express yourself. You're an artist. You express yourself through art, through calligraphy, through creating things. But there are people who are not able to. And I mean, for myself, I also I talk a lot, right? I cannot keep my feelings in like bottled up inside. And if I do that, I mean, when I was younger, I think I was definitely doing that. I hadn't grown, and I hadn't learned the importance of connecting with your feelings and just talking about that and how it instantly makes you feel better. So, for example, when my children, and they're quite young, so one of my, my older one, she gets upset, and she's very much like me, so she shies away. She goes, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. So I try and tell her, I say, look, trust me, just try it, just talk a little bit about it, just tell me, like, just tell me what happened, or just like give me a hint, and instantly you'll feel better. So I try doing this exercise. But yes, talking about your experiences is such an integral part of expression. It's such a powerful way of expressing yourself. Obviously you get easily understood, and you connect, right? You connect with somebody else. And then, of course, there are different other ways. But coming back to people who are not expressive, or who who are challenged with being expressive, who struggle with it. So, what are the tips that we can give to them? And I mean, in our conversation, like Hafsa, you gave out quite a few tips. You can in the form of art, right? Um, I mean, another thing that I do, and my family, my siblings, they make a lot of fun out of me. I just talk to myself. It's really
That's very healthy. It's extremely healthy.
I also
and
do that. I also
this is
started doing
something
that.
I've been
People
doing
say
since
that
I
I'm
was
going
a kid,
crazy.
and I still do it.
My
So
my
when
my
I'm
mom thought I'm going crazy for a bit. I mean, she's like,
my siblings, my
Me
entire life
too.
have been telling me, yeah, that she just stands in front of the mirror and she just like she's talking to somebody, she's getting angry at somebody. But and then I do it now, so my kids find it very strange. But when I started researching on topics, and when I was going through this is one of the tips actually that was mentioned, and I was extremely amused and amazed, because I really thought that this was something very eccentric and quirky about me. So what is it that I do? But it was mentioned that you should practice expressing as well. So if you're just kind of looking at yourself in the mirror, and if you have something to say on an important event or an important meeting or an important conversation, or that you're getting anxiety about, it could be a work seminar, work conference, something you're presenting, you could just kind of practice it, right? And let that stress and that anxiety out, that's
yeah,
making you anxious. And it really helps. So it's not important that you have to sit in a group of people and express, because a lot of people are introverted, a lot of people are not expressive. Just express to yourself. Think of yourself, look in the mirror, or just
My,
sit by
my,
yourself.
my father gives an entire demo lecture sometimes, talking to himself in his room and
Yeah,
conversing with imaginary students. And my mom's like,
I
"What
can
is with you,
totally
father
relate.
and daughter? Like
Yes,
familial." I'm like, "Mom,
yes.
it's not a problem. It's a very healthy way of going about things." So yeah, it's pretty much
I mean,
that.
it's helped me a lot. It's helped me a
It
lot.
always,
It's
it
and
always,
and another thing that we were discussing. So, Hafsa, coming back to you. So, for somebody who's an introvert, or who struggles with expressing themselves, or who's going through a phase, or in a difficult relationship, or in a difficult work environment, having a problem with a colleague, there are these feelings festering up, these thoughts. What tips would we give that person, or in a certain any kind of life situation? It could be with a friend, a neighbor, with your staff, with your employees, with your driver, with your with anybody. What, other than talking to somebody else or yourself, like I do, what other ways are there?
I feel
What are the tips?
being an ambivert, because I'm not extremely extroverted. I have a bit of an introvert in me as well. There are times that I struggle with certain conversations and I keep certain things repressed. I feel like it's important for us to find a certain vent. Lately, what really helped a lot of people are these adult coloring books, if you've heard of them. They
No, I haven't. Adult coloring books,
you
no.
have
So
to.
I would love that, because I'm not an artist. I can't, like my daughter is an amazing artist, and she keeps teasing me, Mama. So I would love, because I love coloring. I'm very good. So there are these adult coloring books. Imagine like how
There are
therapeutic
adult
that
coloring
is.
books. They came out a few years ago, and they have helped people de-stress and find channel out a certain bent, and they're really interesting. They're pretty cool. So if you're somebody who struggles, just try and pick them up. I think that's the smallest thing you could start off with,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of advice I think I'm capable of giving. You could try writing. It doesn't really work out at times for anyone, but the important thing is start trying. Start trying in certain, figure out some ways or another, see
Yes.
if they work out for you, and practice it as a form of a wellness method. You have to
Yeah.
prioritize your wellness. So
Yeah.
expression is also an important part of wellness. So is reflection.
Absolutely. It's a very important part of wellness.
Exactly. So you need to figure out what works for you, whether it's a
Yeah.
coloring book, whether it's playing an instrument, whether it's doing some kind of artwork, whether it's finding calligraphy, find some, or whether it's trying to talk to somebody about it. I think either of these are a good way to go about it.
Yes, and you also, like even it could be like finding help online or coaching. You could find a coach who could
Yeah,
help you. You could take up a course in, self-expression. Simplest ways. I mean, you could exercise, meditate, yoga. So there's so many ways, but it is absolutely important for
because
our.
the repressed emotions are all this buried energy inside you.
Yes,
The
and it's
energy you
toxic. It
find a
builds up
channel.
toxicity.
It is. It is.
They
So try
turn
to
toxic.
find a channel there. For me,
Yeah.
I literally remember being extremely angry and carving that block of plaster off, and it was helpful. It was like it was an anesthetic, or it
Yeah.
was some kind of painkiller. It's pretty cool. So I
Yeah, and I
think
think more than a painkiller, you manage to challenge whatever that
you
uh, you
channel
know
it.
that heightened energy, anger or like your disappointment or whatever negative, you manage to channel it
Channel
from
it.
within to outside. And that is very important. I feel expressing yourself is it's key to your mental health, emotional well-being, mental well-being, even your physical well-being. Because don't you remember times in your life, because it's not like we're all expressive, and even the most expressive, eloquent people are like so good at communicating all the time. No, we've all been through those times in our lives, or every now and then, where you're so upset, or where you're so affected, or where you're so disheartened, or where you're so overwhelmed or anxious that you do not express yourself, and you are feeling repressed. What does that do to you? First of all, there's a direct physiological effect, right? feel like this toxic, like this negative energy, right? That just starts like bothering you, burning up inside of you. And then it comes to your head, your mind. You're constantly feeling,
And
you're
I'd like to, yeah, and I'd like to add, if you don't take charge of channeling that emotion, it's going
yeah,
to try and find its way out itself, and it's
yes.
not going to be
In your
always in a
actions,
positive
It's
way.
going to
in
explode.
your
I think
actions,
Yeah,
from
exactly.
my
And
you
experience,
become
the moment it
toxic.
doesn't explode,
you
it's
become
going to find it.
toxic.
Yes. For example, you pass a snidey remark. That's you
Yes.
expressing some hidden
Yeah.
insecurity that wasn't able to express itself properly,
Yeah.
or you just throw an angry tantrum because
Yes.
what goes inside you has its own way of getting out. It's an
Yes.
energy. So
And you haven't, because you haven't managed to, first
take
of
charge
all,
of it.
reflect. So
Yes.
again, coming back to the process, because you haven't reflected over why you're feeling that way, why you've been left feeling. I mean, not all the time. It's not not all the time we're responsible for the way that we feel. I feel like these days, a lot of the self-help, self-development books and programs puts a lot of pressure on us. Like, it's
Yes.
like, yes, you are responsible for yourself, but then, of course, like, we're human beings, and external things affect us. So when you're left feeling like that, step one, reflect. What is it that's bothering you? Address it. Then, secondly, find a way to express it, a constructive way. And like you mentioned, like, if it's repressed, if it's stuck inside, if you're not able to channel it, it boils, it erupts, and it just explodes, spirals out of control. It comes
Or
out on
it's
the wrong people,
say negatively.
like so many times, and it happens to all of us. Right? Bosses will end up, one poor employee who's going to bring a file, and this angry boss, like, somebody is upset about something that some other employee did, and he just like
Vents it
some
out to another one, yeah.
night thing that
He
your
bashes
manager
on
was telling
him.
you.
He
And
bashes.
later on, that you will feel bad. You'll be
Yeah.
like, why did I just like take it out on that guy, or that girl, poor girl. It happens to me with my, I think now, for me at this point in my life, I feel like expressing myself and reflection is so important, because now I have kids, and there have been times when it's come out on them, and I do not want that. It could come out on your, in the middle of your, anybody, like your work, right?
The biggest thing affected by this are your immediate relationships because they're with you all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
They're your social
And you take them
environment.
for granted, subconsciously, you always do.
It's so common for us. It's common knowledge that something's bad at work.
Yeah.
There's
And
an
you come home
you come home and it's taken
And
out
you
on
take
the spouse or on the kids.
puffing, your parents.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
your
you
staff.
need to take charge of your expression there
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
it takes charge of you. Control it before it controls you.
Yes,
and
and then
also
imagine how you feel when you take it out in that way. You never end up feeling good. It worsens. You end up feeling guilty. So first you were feeling toxic, pent up, suppressed, angry, and then you took it out the wrong way. And then now there's that added feeling of feeling guilty and bad. So it's altogether a very, very
so now,
toxic and a very, very destructive pattern, right? And we need to break it, and we need to, which is why when we talk about reflection and expression, communicating is your feelings and your thoughts first to yourself and then to others is very important. Unfortunately, in our lives, we do have people. I mean, it's not all on us. Like I said, we shouldn't just pressure ourselves. You do come across a very, very unique kind of people. No matter how much you express yourself to them in a good, kind, constructive way, it's of no use. So, what do you do in that situation,
exactly.
Michelle? What do you do in that situation when
So
you've tried and you're just frustrated? Then you're like, I've tried, I've gone up, and I really try to communicate and express, and I've reflected over what was the problem, but this person is just like completely clueless, and there's just no like, it's there's no like, there's no understanding of what I'm saying. What do you do in that situation with that frustration that comes up?
when I've been encountered in these situations most of the times, and I was not good at handling this situation. But now
Yeah.
what I've tried to do that, but when they're not understanding the messages, I
Yes.
talk to them in a polite manner. If that
Yes.
doesn't happen, I just stop talking to them because there is no use. They're not understanding it. So what's the
Yes.
time wasting my time and energy
Yes.
on them? I can
Yes.
just change my environment, because that's no use.
Yes.
By the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself, because self-care comes first. So if they're not understanding, too bad. They need to grow up on their own. We are not their parents to just give them a coaching or guiding sessions or parenting them. So that's why we leave it there, and we wish them goodwill, and we hope that they understand someday. But in order to save our time and energy, we just move on and find good and
Absolutely.
wish them all the luck. Remember, you
Absolutely.
tell me one thing one time. There are certain relationships that you need to love from a distance. So
Yes, I
it
do.
can be
Yes,
your
and I
family.
really believe that.
Yeah,
There's
that
some
was the
people
like
you need to love from a distance because they'll never, So that exactly, and it
understand.
happens a lot, right? Because uh, again, Hafsa, what do you do in that situation where where you've expressed yourself, where you've even reflected, where you might even acknowledge your mistakes, and you go up to that person, and it happens quite often with colleagues and with in the working environment with your boss. It happens in our personal lives. It happens in all kind of interactions, and it builds up frustration, right? Because you're trying, but like Misha said, this is what she does. What do you do, or what would you suggest?
This is
What's the
something I've
difference
been
in that
this is
situation?
something I've been actively trying to practice a lot. First up, you need to understand: is it a good time? I think that's the basic question. If you're
Yeah,
trying to address something, you're trying to communicate to them that this is not we having some contention here. Try revisiting it at a different time, because
yeah,
at times somebody's built up. Maybe they're a little cool later. You want to revisit that later and have
yes,
a proper one-on-one with them and have a proper conversation when there's a good time about it. Or
yes,
ask them. Lately a very dear friend of mine said to me, maybe you should try asking people that is it a good time, should we talk to you right now about this? Or do you need a breather right now? That
yeah,
way, you are empathetic towards the other person too, and they can clearly see that. And
yes,
empathy leads to a lot of good things in general. Let's say it still doesn't work out, then you definitely need to dissociate yourself from some things and understand that everyone has their own journey.
right,
And this person will not come to this realization right now, but maybe they
right,
might later. But
yeah,
they have to be responsible enough to do that. So your responsibility is to take care a little about yourself and dissociate yourself from it. I feel that's how I would visit it. At the same time, keep building up on your communication skills. They're extremely, extremely important. There was, for example, there's a certain relation in my life where I used to have a very big. I was always at a bone of contention with them, you know, in some way or the other. And
yeah,
lately, I find us communicating a lot better because I worked on my communication, starting
yeah,
off with empathy. I would, you have to understand that the other person, all of us, there's this amazing thing I read in a book once, and it said that every human out there is expecting you to be on their side.
yes.
So
Wow,
that's it.
that's
That's
really
very much
insightful.
that was
That's
a
so true.
Yeah,
wonderful thing that
exactly.
I read. So you
Yeah.
firstly need to tell the person that, hey,
And that's
let's
for us as well,
disagree with
right?
you.
You immediately
Yes,
want the other person to understand your stance.
exactly. The person needs to understand that just because I disagree with you
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I am against you.
Yes.
So I think this is a very good way to approach it. You need to, for example, there was the somebody I always give some advice to that the therapist might give them as well, and I tell them, listen up. I understand that I'm going to say the same things to you that your therapist might as well, but I do understand that that gives you a lot more peace. So why don't you try visiting them? You see, you probably might have some same thing to say, but just because you'd come from a place of ego, you'd want them to prioritize what you'd have to say, but you suddenly put it more. You gave the other person's peace a lot more importance. So when you're having those kind of situations, I think empathy is the key to solving these problems. So that's how I go about it.
So empathy, another thing, so that's an excellent advice. And of course, like empathy is so important in all, areas of our life. And I feel like it's such a sacred, such a holy, such a pure like emotion. And it's something that doesn't come naturally. You need to cultivate it. right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then again, I agree with Misha also because I'm the one who gave her that advice, so I can't go against it. That there have been very toxic people. Not very. I mean, I've been blessed to have a lot of good relations, and my friendships support system is absolutely fantastic. But whenever there does come a time when, and back in the day when I wasn't, or maybe, or I hadn't really done that work, I used to get frustrated and I used to get even, and it used to further, just make that interaction more toxic, especially for myself, right? I don't know how the other person felt. And then, like, yes, I think a point comes where you kind of acknowledge that you're just not on the same wavelength. Everybody's wired differently. Everybody's
That's
emotionally
true.
at
That's
different
true.
levels in their life, spiritually at different levels. And a time comes when you just take a step back. You've done your due. You explain yourself. You express yourself. You've given your point of view, and then you agree to disagree. And then there are some people who are toxic, and you need to kind of, if they're important relations in your life, and I do
Yes.
believe that you kind of need to love them and respect them from a distance if they're bringing pain. And of course, if there's hope and there are people you need, then like you said, you wait for the right time, and you're empathetic, you're patient. So it's all a combination of things, and at the end of the day, the responsibility comes to us to figure out what's working and what's not working for us.
Yes.
So there,
Kindness.
expression.
Kindness should be at the center of it all. Kindness for others and then kindness for yourself. I have definitely
Exactly.
dissociated myself from conversations where I feel it will meet no end, but just add a bit of an ego debate there. So I do feel like it's important. All of this is a balance of it all is very important for us to understand expression.
Yes, yes, and of course, like when we say balance, balance is a science, okay? And it's very easy to say have a balanced diet, have a balanced life, but actually, balance in itself is a science, and it's something you work at every single day to achieve it. And nobody gets the balance right. We're all struggling. But coming back to our topic for today, reflection and expression. I hope, guys, you guys have found this useful in many ways. So please, like do share your thoughts with us. And yes, Hamza, would you like to just pay greetings to all the
Uh,
people with us? Hamza or Misha, one of you,
there
and then
was a
we can.
question. There was a question over here. Just quickly address it so that we can do the greetings and then we can.
Yes. So how do you
So, how do
determine?
you
Rabia
determine?
said, how do you determine what one is reflecting or is just afraid or is feeling shame to share with others? Yes. Sometimes you've come up with something uh, that is of significance, but you find that you're shy. Oh no. Sorry for that. It always happens. I don't know why. So yeah, what do you do
Just afraid
if
or
you're
are
ashamed or
feeling
shy
ashamed of
or
sharing with others.
sharing your reflection, like or whatever conclusion that you or insight that you've come up with? And obviously, then I think this is also related to an expression challenge. You know, you're not able to express it because you're feeling shy or ashamed. So what do you do?
Um, Number one, I do feel like everybody has to figure out a safe space for themselves. First
Yeah.
up, there might be somebody in your life or something in your life that is a safe space. It could be a diary, it could be a person, all the methods that we talked about initially. If it really doesn't work out, and I do feel this is a very important, I just drop a note here and we could take it up later sometime in a different
Yeah,
talk
this is
series.
such a brilliant question. We didn't think about this. I'm so glad. Thank you, Rabe, for
I'm glad that
asking
Ravi
this.
brought this up.
This is, this is so this happens all the time, by the way.
Exactly. Here's the importance of a therapist. I feel like the idea of breaking your inertia to visit a therapist, not because it's a problem or is it it's a disease, which it is, but this particular problem, you need a vent right now. therapists are very good people to visit at that moment when you don't have a safe space, because they are ethically obliged to provide you with that. So I feel like this is an important thing, and we could discuss it in future wellness series,
Yes.
the importance of visiting a therapist.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, that's one answer I can come up with for this particular question.
I think that's an excellent answer, because then you feel like if it's somebody professional, you're not feeling judged and you're in a safe space. There's confidentiality. So yes, I mean I think that's a great response to that. Misha, any other questions?
I think we have covered all. So that's a great session for the day, live session for the day. So
Thank you so much, everyone,
so
for
much.
joining us. All of you who did.
Thank
Who do
you.
Yes.
It was our pleasure. I mean, I definitely enjoyed this discussion, and while I was, participating in it, I mean, it was making me even more aware of what it is that we're
more
talking about.
reflective.
It's so
More
important.
reflective.
Yes. So,
Yes.
guys, thank you for joining us, and hope we all will make more of an effort to reflect and express ourselves in constructive, productive, and ways that are conducive to our wellness and well-being and others as well around us. So, have a great weekend, and bye bye from the Norn way.
Bye bye, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Reflective,
Oh, it
expressive.
started yet. And reflect and express during the time with your family. So with that, we're signing off. Good night.